Hello beautiful, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to talk about how to use journaling to stop negative thought patterns. Journaling has so many benefits and there are many different ways that you can use journaling. Such a simple thing to do, but it can make such a huge impact on your life. Studies have even shown that it can be used to improve your physical health. It can lower blood pressure, improve the immune system, improve liver function, and of course it can help to reduce depression and anxiety. It can help to clear your mind. If you have a really busy mind, it can help to empty your mind. It can also help to bring clarity to situations that may be challenging for you. And of course, one of my personal favorites is how journaling can help you to stop or change negative feedback loops, negative thought patterns, and bring you back to that generous, beautiful present moment. So we're going to look at 4 very powerful and effective ways that you can use journaling to empty your mind and to get back on track to stop or change those negative thought patterns. So what often happens in this day and age is that we are being constantly stimulated by so many things every single day. Information is coming at us left and right, and we have so many responsibilities and things to attend to that it can really be overwhelming. And what happens is we find ourselves stuck in our head. It can be a combination of programming and old stories, limiting beliefs and things that we've been told, that we've acquired throughout our life, that just keep replaying and replaying without us even knowing it. It can also be something that's happening in our environment, whether big or small, that just has us in this negative thought pattern. Even if it's not a negative thought pattern, the magic in life happens when we're in that present moment, just present and aware with what is going on around us and who is around us, and being present with that, genuinely and authentically there and in that situation, rather than being physically in the situation but mentally somewhere else. However, of course, it is the negative thought patterns that are potentially more harmful to us if we don't recognize them, stop them, and change them. I actually found myself in one of these negative thought loops pretty recently after going about a week of feeling amazing, non-stop, and being very present in the moment, which is something I've really been working on recently. I have been what you may refer to as an overthinker. I tend to analyze things a lot and just overthink everything, go into all those future possibilities. Of course, I do sometimes replay the past as well. These are things that we all do, but if we really want transformation and we want to improve our lives, to change a specific area in our lives or potentially many areas in our lives, we need to be more in the present moment, because that is the unknown and that is what is going to bring more unknown circumstances and situations into our lives. If we keep replaying what happened in the past or imagining what could happen in the future, this is all based on familiarity, familiar circumstances, things we have experienced in the past, and we're using that to project into the future, or we're just, of course, stuck in the past. And how can you create change and step into something different in your life if you are stuck thinking and replaying things that are familiar to you, things that you already know? You're just going to keep getting the same result as you've always gotten. So in order to change that and to get onto a new path, whether it's with love, with health, money, whatever it may be, we need to start doing things differently. And in order to do things differently, we need to think differently and we need to feel differently. But it does all start with our thoughts. If you think a good thought, then you have a good feeling and you're going to take actions that align with that. If you have a negative thought and a negative feeling, your actions are going to be much different than if you were feeling happy, inspired, excited, or motivated. And I'm not saying to avoid or ignore negative emotions, because like I've gone over in some recent videos, it's very important to acknowledge and hear those emotions. They are here for a reason. They are communicating something to you. And we don't want to abandon ourselves and just ignore that. You do want to hear it, feel it, and then let it go and release it. And sometimes when you do release it, the thoughts that were tied to it just fall away as well, but there may be other layers of other things that can then begin to creep in, or you're kind of in that space where you're feeling empty and clear and light for a few hours or a few days, which is great, but then something happens in your environment to trigger another belief or to remind you of something that happened in the past, and that's going to bring up those different thoughts, and then suddenly, before you know it, you find yourself again in a negative loop or negative thought pattern. So I was really working on this and staying in the present moment and just enjoying every moment, and it was beautiful and amazing, and I'm grateful that I was able to do that. But something happened. I still am not sure exactly what was the trigger, and it doesn't really matter. I can begin to overthink and overanalyze everything, trying to figure out what that was, but I decided to instead just focus on changing my thought pattern and changing where my emotions and things were going, because this is how you can usually notice if this is going on to begin with, is that you're not feeling great. Our emotions are great indicators for telling us, showing us what it is that we are thinking. And if you're having emotions of sadness, of fear, of anxiety, of shame, or not being good enough, or anything like that, it's because you're thinking thoughts that are creating those emotions. So basically, I realized that I was in my head again, and I had lost that magic of the present moment. And so I started to do different things to try and get out of my head and just feel my body, drop back into my body, and just be aware of where I am and what I'm doing at the moment. And I tried many different things that often do work and help with this. For example, dancing. Dance is something that I started that really helps me drop into my body, clear my mind, and just elevate my vibration, my mood, and feel amazing. I danced for a little while and it felt good in that moment, and I was able to release it all in that moment, but very quickly after it came back, the negative thoughts and feelings came back. I tried meditation, which also often helps, but again, it was a temporary thing, and before I knew it, I was back into it. I tried all these different things, and for some reason, I just couldn't seem to fully change and shift my thought patterns. And that's when it occurred to me, I just need to get these thoughts out of my mind. I feel like I can't just forget them. I feel like they're important. When we are thinking so much about things, especially about the future, a big reason for that, or often the main reason for that, is because we want to have control. We feel that we're not safe. We feel that if we don't have control, something could potentially happen. And perhaps that's how it was before in your life, in your childhood. Usually these are learned behaviors because of past experiences. And in the moment, it may have helped you at that time in your life, but we carry them on throughout our lives, even when they no longer serve us. So it often does come down to that control. I feel that I need to control everything and analyze everything so that I can be aware and be able to make the right move, the right next move. However, it usually ends up working in the opposite way, in the sense that if we're not present to what's going on, how are we going to be able to react to something that comes up in our environment? We're not going to be fully aware of all of the aspects of that situation. We're not going to be fully aware of and present with our emotions and what our reaction may be to that situation. And actually, just a quick story here is that in 2016, so I live in Ecuador. I'm actually in Canada right now, but going back very soon. And in 2016, there was a 7.8 earthquake that really literally shook up the entire coast of the country, really the whole country, but especially the coast, and especially the northern coast, the central northern coast, which is where I was living at the time and still do live. What happened was, everything started shaking. I had never been in an earthquake before. I had felt a few tremors there, but nothing like this. And both my husband and I at first were like, what's going on? It started off kind of light and then it started getting really intense. But what I noticed thinking back to it is that I was very much in the present moment. I didn't freak out. I didn't, I wasn't really even fearful, which hopefully I would be able to repeat that now after having gone through that experience. Maybe I didn't have the fear because I hadn't been through that experience before, but sometimes people do freak out in those situations and they run out screaming or something and they fall or something hits them and that's it. In this case though, I was very aware and present and intuitive with how I was reacting to the situation. And, fortunately, my husband and I and everyone who was in the house, the 3-story house that we were living in the time was okay. But they did have to tear the house down afterwards because it just wasn't stable enough to, continue living there. But I found that really interesting. When you're in the present moment, you can tap into your instincts much more easily. So going back to a few days ago when I found myself in this negative thought pattern, I grabbed a journal. Something said, just go to the journal, open it up, and just start writing down your thoughts. And so that's what I did. I just started writing down my thoughts. I didn't think about it. I didn't analyze it. I just emptied my mind. And there's 2 different ways you can do this, or kind of 2 different terms. The way I did it, I would say that it was more of an automatic writing style. So this is number 1. The first way that you can use journaling to empty your mind and to stop those negative thought patterns is through automatic writing. Now, there are many people, spiritual masters especially, who talk about automatic writing in regards to connecting with your guides, your higher self, and letting the divine come through you and flow through you on paper, which is really amazing, actually, and something I've been experimenting with a little bit more recently as well. And you can definitely use it in that way. And when I was doing it, maybe it was my higher self that was coming through in that moment to help steer me back onto the right path and guide me into a new thought pattern that was more positive and more beneficial for me. But either way, automatic writing, what is it? Basically, it's where what it is you just pick up a pen and you just start writing. You don't think about it. You don't analyze what you're writing. You're not worried about spelling or punctuation or anything, really. You just write. You just write with no filter. You're not thinking about if this makes sense. Should I say this? Should I not? What's a better way to say this? Just write whatever comes out in that moment. And this was very, very healing for me and very effective. I basically started writing about how I was feeling and what was going on and how I noticed I was reacting to this, and kind of just writing to myself almost like, this is what's going on, this is what I want to feel, but this is what's happened today. And then it kind of moved naturally into a space of gratitude. But, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I'm grateful that I'm here and I can do this. And I just ended up going into just writing a lot of the things that I was grateful for. But whatever it is you end up writing, it doesn't really matter. The main goal of automatic writing in this way is to empty your mind and at the same time allow higher power, source, God, your higher self, however you want to look at it, but that part of you that is inside of you that's more than your body, that's greater than your body, and that is able to take kind of an observative view and help you move forward in life and help you get out of a situation like this that could potentially snowball in a way that you do not want it to, right? So it was amazing because I realized that after I did that, I don't know how long I spent writing, probably 20 minutes or so, but I was like, okay, I feel better now. I feel more relaxed and more clear. I feel that I can get back into that present moment now because all of those things that were going on in my head, they're out now, they're on paper, It really helps you to process your thoughts and to process your emotions. As I was saying, with emotions, thoughts as well, these are things that, if there's things that you're feeling, especially if it's a repeated thing, it really just needs to be expressed. And once it is expressed, it can be released. But if you're not expressing it because you're not talking about it for whatever reason, or doing something else to channel it out of you and release it, then it just stays there and repeats itself over and over again and comes back when you least expect it. So this is a great way to help release those emotions, release those thoughts, and to process them. Now, number 2 is very similar. It's called brain dumping. In the same way, you are just going to literally dump all of your thoughts, all of your emotions, whatever it is that you have in your mind, just get it out on paper. It's all about expressing those thoughts and releasing them from your mind so that your mind can be clear. Now, the difference with brain dumping, at least the way I see it or the way I use it, is that you don't necessarily just keep writing and writing without stopping, without thinking about your writing. However, you could definitely do that as well, but there's just no rules for brain dumping, right? Whatever comes to your mind, you just write it. You get it down on paper. That's the main goal. That's the main thing. If you're doing that, then you are brain dumping in one way or another. But you don't necessarily need to just write it or write it to yourself or talk about how you're feeling. You could even just write some bullet points about like, okay, this is something that I have on my mind. I'm planning for this event, or I'm trying to make this decision, or I'm just remembering what happened yesterday at work and it's really bothering me. Just get it down on paper. Just write out the name of, the situation or the person. If you want to write a full sentence and just go on and on and on, great. If you want to just do bullet points and get some main ideas out, that works too. Let it flow, however works for you, and just dump it all out. Vomit all of those words, thoughts, and ideas and emotions out of you onto the paper so that you can be free. This allows you to free your mind, come back to yourself, to your center, feel more grounded, relaxed. And with both of these 2 techniques, you will experience instant relief and clarity. Now, the 3rd technique is called yes or no diagram. It doesn't necessarily need to be yes or no. It could be a pros versus cons, and whatever type of diagram or chart you want to make is fine. The idea is to be able to visualize in front of you the pros or the reasons for why yes, you may want to do something versus no. So of course, this is great for making decisions. If you have a big decision you need to make, or just any type of decision where you're not really sure which way is the best way to go, what's right for you for that particular situation, and you're just in your head going back and forth about, well, if I do this, then this, but what about that or the other? So you can just get it down on paper, and this is really going to help you get some clarity when you can actually visually see why you should do that thing versus why you should not. You're basically going to map out specific situations and possible outcomes for both sides, right? For why you should do it or why you shouldn't. Even if you don't have a particular decision to make that you're trying to figure out, you could also use this technique to just decide how to move forward, basically, in a particular area of your life. If you know that you're not really satisfied with where you are and you need to make a change, but you're not quite sure how to do that, you could use this technique as well and brainstorm, a few different ways that you could start that change. It's all about just taking that first step. You don't need to know the whole thing about how it's all going to work out, but what's one thing I can do that may help get me moving in that direction? And you can write those things down, and then you can have a look at them and look at both sides. Why would this work? How do I feel about this that's positive? And on the other side, why might this not work? How do I feel about this that may not be so positive? You do want to be honest and transparent with yourself about this. This works really well also for manifesting. If there's something you want to create in your life, you want to do, you feel like you want to do it, you have this calling to do it, and you know that it could potentially bring amazing things into your life, yet you have some sort of block, something's holding you back from not doing it, or you're procrastinating on it, and you're like, okay, why have I not done this yet? I know it's going to be good for me. I've been talking about it, thinking about it, planning it for so long, but I'm not taking action. So again, you could go, whether it's a diagram or just kind of a chart, and you just, list things, yes versus no, but you go through it and say like, okay, I should do this because, and list out everything that comes to your mind. What would be the benefits of doing this for me, for my family and friends, for everyone else, for the collective? Why should I do this? And then on the other side of that, the same. In a similar way, you're going to go through all of the reasons for why you shouldn't do this. And this is very interesting because what often happens with the shouldn't part of this diagram is that you uncover hidden blocks, hidden shadows, and limiting beliefs that are the exact things that are holding you back from taking action. So for example, I have a Spanish teaching business, and I was wanting to make a change with where I was going in regards to career, I guess, and what I was making content about, how I was expressing myself, and I still am in that business. But at the time, it occurred to me that in order to move down this new path and start this YouTube channel and talking about these things that I feel really passionate about and called to do, I had to create some space for it. I was too much in my business, too much was going on, that I didn't really have time to start something like this. I didn't have the headspace to focus on something like this. But also at the same time was the financial side of things. If I do set aside more time to do this, then I'm not going to be investing that time in marketing, in, making sure that the financials are okay. So eventually this idea came to me of selling my business. And it was a very inspired idea, and it felt right. And I knew that this could be the answer and that this is what I want. However, there was still something inside of me that was holding me back. Those self-doubts and questions come up. It's like, I've never done anything like this before. I've never sold a business. This is the first business I've had that's been successful. How do I even go about this? And would anyone even want to buy my business and invest in this thing that I've created and keep it going in a way that feels aligned to me, that I support, and supports like the vision of the business? There were so many doubts and things that came to mind, and I was going back and forth about it for a long time and procrastinating on taking any action on this. So finally what I did is I sat down and I wrote the list of reasons why I should sell the business and reasons why I shouldn't. And of course, the reasons why I should were easier, and kind of more of what I expected to come out came out, right? On the full scale, okay, how is this going to benefit me and my family? It's going to allow me to feel more fulfilled and passionate about life and in love with what I'm doing. And how is that going to affect my family? I can show up more authentically with them, be more present with them, and I'll just be happier, and therefore they will feel that. And how's it going to affect, the collective and the world? Well, potentially the business can grow even more than it is with just me managing it. And so we can help more people and support more people with their Spanish, and we can provide more jobs for our tutors who give the classes. And so it will help them. And how's that going to help their families and their communities and the economy where they live, right? It's just a ripple effect that was so obvious that I was like, wow, I need to do this, but okay, let's have a look at the other side of things. And so I went into the reasons why I should not do this, and it was very interesting to see what came up. It was mostly those fears, right? Well, what if I do this and it doesn't work out? Like the business fails with the changes. Or what if I do this and then I lose my main source of income and the ideas and things that I have to progress into a new career doesn't work out? Or what if I do this and people judge me for it, and they feel abandoned or something because I'm not running the business anymore, you know? And I realized just that all the reasons for why I shouldn't were really just my own doubts, my own limiting beliefs. There was nothing in there about like how it would actually affect me that was not positive, or the world and the collective and things. So it just became so easy, like, okay, like I have to do this, not just for my family, but also for the world and the impact it can actually have on the collective as a whole and everyone involved for years and years to come. Interestingly enough, once I put the business out there for sale, and I did get some buyers, they wanted to do a joint venture, which is something that I had not considered. So it's not always going to happen exactly how you think it will, right? It can be unexpected, and that's the beauty of it. It might be even better than you imagined, because a lot of those fears that I had were automatically wiped out because of this joint venture agreement, meaning that I'm still part of the business, I'm still receiving some income, I still have an input on what's happening, and I'm helping it to continue move forward. So kind of just washed away some of those limiting beliefs that I had anyways. But that wasn't until after I had made the decision to move forward because of creating this diagram. Now, the fourth type of journaling that you can use to free your mind of those negative thought patterns that can just go on and on and on and take you down the path that you do not want to go is by writing a letter. Write a letter that you will not send. You can write a letter to someone if maybe what's going on in your mind, all of those thoughts running wild, maybe they're regarding a specific person, a specific situation that happened with that person, or maybe something that you would like to happen with that person, but for whatever reason, you don't feel comfortable or ready to speak with them about it, or maybe you just can't because of logistics and things. You know, whatever the reason is, you may have things that you need to say to someone, and those are just becoming thought patterns that you're playing over and over again in your mind. So what you can do is write a letter to that person, knowing you're not going to send it. So you're free to write whatever it is that you want, good or bad, fully express how you feel, fully express what you want to say. And remember that everything is energy. We are all energy. So even though you're not going to send out this letter, you may be surprised and you may actually discover that getting this energy out of your body and expressing it may actually have some sort of impact in the real physical reality. That person may just end up calling you and bring up the exact subject that you wanted to talk about, but were too scared or thought it was inappropriate to bring up yourself. You don't know what's going to happen, but either way, it's just going to benefit you and your mental health and also physical health, because everything's connected, to just get it out and express it on paper. You could also do this to yourself. You could also write a letter to yourself, whether it's to your actual personality self that you kind of present to the world, or maybe it's to your higher self, a version of you that is within you, that's your subconscious, you know, that knows what's best for you beyond all of these programs and distractions and things going on. You know, I know that I need to make a change. I don't know exactly how, but I know that deep within me, I know what is that, and, you know, see what comes out. And it may be your higher self or your guides, the divine speaking through you, helping you to figure that out. But even if not, even if in the process of writing this letter to yourself, you don't find necessarily what it is that you're looking for, it's going to really help you to get it off your chest and to bring clarity. You might realize by the time you get it out that actually, I don't need to worry about this so much. I can just let it go. I put it down on paper and let's just see what happens. Let's go with the flow and allow things to evolve. Here's a couple of bonus tips to help you really get started with this and create the habit, because of course, starting a new habit isn't always easy. Maybe you've started journaling before, but you did it once or twice here and there, and that was it. Then you forgot about it. Either way, I suggest if you try this and it works for you and you find it helpful, to make it a habit. Have it there as something you can always turn to for help and guidance, and of course as a very effective tool for clearing your mind and changing those negative thought patterns, shifting them towards something more positive and more beneficial for you. So what you can do to start this habit is you can start by writing in your journal at a specific time each day. Maybe you would add it to your calendar. Maybe you add an alarm that gives you notifications, something to help you remember. If you do it at the same time every day after something else, like every day after breakfast, for example, or whenever it is for you, that can also really help as well. It creates that trigger of, okay, I've just finished breakfast, now it's time to journal. I personally prefer to do it randomly throughout the day when I feel the need, when I feel that my mind starts spinning and I'm like, okay, let's get to the journal. Or yeah, when I need it and when I feel called to. But at the beginning, it can be really helpful to have something to help you remember and to get into that habit. Another thing you can do is just have your journal and a pen there ready for you. You know, you can even open the book and have it open to a blank page that's kind of just sitting there waiting for you to write in it, to fill it with something. And when you see that, you walk into your room or the kitchen, wherever you have it, you're going to be more likely to grab it and use it when you need it. With that said, you can, if you prefer, do this digitally, type it out on the computer or whatever it is. I personally prefer to do it physically, manually, even though sometimes my hand does hurt a little bit after if I'm writing a lot. But that movement, that physical movement of the body and having the hand in your finger, having the pen in your hand, making the movements of the letters while you're writing it does add that kinesthetic aspect to it, and that can increase the power it can have even more. But whatever works best for you, the important thing is to do it. There's no right or wrong way. You don't need to think about, okay, am I going to do a diagram? Am I going to do automatic writing? Am I going to just dump out all of my ideas? Am I going to write a letter? Maybe at the beginning when you're just getting started, it will help to have a bit of idea of how you want to go about it. But I suggest that whenever possible, just go with what feels right. Don't think about it so much. Just start writing. All right, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this. I would love to hear about your experience with journaling, or if you have any questions about it, please let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.